This story is titled, My Fiancé Accused Me of Cheating, and Her Dad and Brothers Physically Attacked Me. Now the truth is out and they want reconciliation. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Alright, so this might get a little long, but I need to get it all out. I'm 28, just a regular dude with a stable office job, a decent apartment, and what I thought was a pretty straightforward life. About a year ago, I met the woman I thought I'd spend forever with. Let's call her Emma, 26 female. She was everything I thought I wanted. Smart, funny, and had this way of making me feel like I could take on the world. We dated for a little over a year before I proposed. Nothing fancy, just something private between the two of us. She said yes, and honestly, I thought I'd won in life. A few weeks later, we had an engagement party at her parents' place. It wasn't anything flashy, just family and close friends, and I thought everything was perfect. Looking back though, I realized there were warning signs. Small things that didn't seem like a big deal at the time. Her mom, for one, had this weird way of talking to me. She'd say stuff like, "Oh, it's so nice you're stable. Emma needs someone she can rely on." Or, "You're such a hard worker. It must be tough not having family connections to lean on." At first, I thought it was just her being awkward, but now I see it for what it was. Judgment. Her dad was a little easier to deal with. He seemed chill on the surface, but it was clear he deferred to her mom on pretty much everything. Then there were her brothers. They were younger than her, and had this overprotective big brother energy that didn't quite make sense given their age. It was like they thought I was stealing their precious sister away. But I didn't let any of it bother me. I loved Emma, and I figured the family stuff would work itself out eventually. I mean, once we were married, they'd have to accept me, right? That's just how these things work. Or at least, that's what I told myself. Fast forward about 8 months into our engagement, and things started to get weird. It wasn't anything huge at first, just little things. Emma started acting more guarded, like she didn't trust me as much. She'd ask questions that felt off. "Who did you have lunch with today?" Or, "Why didn't you text me back during your break?" I chalked it up to wedding stress. People get anxious when planning a big life event, and I thought that's all it was. But then, one random Saturday afternoon, she came into my apartment looking like she'd been rehearsing an argument all day. She had her phone in her hand, and the second she saw me, she said, "We need to talk." Great. The 4 scariest words in any relationship. Forget "I love you" or "Will you marry me?" This is the one that sends chills down your spine every time. I don't know about you, but those 4 words never mean something good. I put my phone down and said, "All right, what's up?" Instead of answering, she shoved her phone in my face. On the screen were these blurry, low-quality photos of me leaving a restaurant with a woman. I blinked at the screen, trying to figure out if I was supposed to recognize myself in the grainy, Bigfoot-level photos. Honestly, I've seen better resolution on memes. "That's Sarah," I said after a second. "She's a co-worker. We grabbed lunch last week. What about it?" Emma folded her arms and stared at me like I'd just confessed to murder. "What about it?" she repeated sarcastically. "How about the fact that you didn't tell me about it? Or that you're sneaking around with another woman behind my back?" Her words hit me deep. This was Emma, the woman who used to look at me like I was her whole world, now staring at me like I was some stranger she'd caught in a lie. I couldn't understand how we got here. We'd built our relationship on trust, or at least I thought we had. But now she was acting like everything I'd ever said or done didn't matter. I asked, "Sneaking around? Are you serious right now?" "It was just lunch. We talked about work stuff, that's it." But she wasn't hearing me. "Do you think I'm stupid? I've seen this before. You're just like every other guy who says one thing and does another." At this point, I was starting to get frustrated. How could she believe something like this without even asking me first? It was like all the times I'd been honest, all the ways I'd shown her how much she meant to me, had just vanished from her memory. I said, trying to calm things down, "Emma, I'm telling you the truth. Sarah's a co-worker, and we had lunch to discuss the project we're both working on. If you don't believe me, I can show you the emails we exchanged setting it up." Her expression didn't change. If anything, she looked angrier. "Emails? Oh, so now you're covering your tracks with emails? Unbelievable." I felt like I was in a trash movie. No matter what I said, she was stuck in her own version of the story, and I was the villain. "Emma, listen to me," I said, trying to stay calm. "There's nothing going on between me and Sarah. I love you. I wouldn't cheat on you. Why don't you trust me?" She let out this weird, bitter laugh that didn't even sound like her. "Why don't I trust you? Maybe because you've been lying to my face this whole time. Lying? Are you serious right now? I shot back. When have I ever lied to you? You know me better than this. What's going on with you? She gave me this cold, dead stare. Do I, though? Because right now, I don't even know who you are. That one stung, not gonna lie. I tried to keep my cool, though. Come on, Emma, think for a second. When have I ever given you a reason not to trust me? You see some crappy photos and suddenly I'm a liar? Why wouldn't you just ask me first? You know I'd tell you the truth. She shook her head like I wasn't even worth the effort. Why should I? I saw the pictures. That's all I need to know. Seriously? You're gonna hang everything on some blurry-ass pictures? You didn't even stop to ask me what they were about. You're just jumping straight to the worst conclusion, like you've been waiting for an excuse. Her face was so cold, so unrecognizable, that for a moment, I wondered if I'd ever really known her. She wasn't budging. It was like she'd already decided I was guilty the second she walked in the door. Nothing I said was gonna change that. And that's when it started to click for me. This wasn't normal. This wasn't her just being mad about some misunderstanding. This was her straight up thinking I was the worst person alive, like she wanted to believe it. I tried to be gentle. This isn't like you. What's really going on here? Why are you doing this? Still nothing. Just that same closed-off look. So I took a shot in the dark. Let me guess. Your mom's behind this, isn't she? She's been feeding you this garbage, and now you're just running with it. Her jaw tightened. She didn't say a word, but she didn't need to. That look told me everything. Wow, I muttered, laughing bitterly. So that's how it is. Your mom shows you a couple of crappy pictures, and suddenly I'm the bad guy? You'd rather believe her than me, after everything we've been through? She didn't even flinch, just stood there, like she was already done with me. That's when I realized I was wasting my breath. It wasn't just about the pictures. She'd already made up her mind. Someone had been in her ear, but whoever it was, they'd poisoned the well. And as bad as it felt in that moment, I didn't know the half of it. Things were about to get a hell of a lot worse. Now, as I was still sitting there trying to process what had just happened, I heard banging on my front door. Not knocking, banging, like someone was trying to break it down. Before I even had a chance to ask who it was, the door flew open, and there they were. Emma's dad and her two brothers. They looked furious, and I could tell right away that they weren't here for a peaceful chat. Her dad pointed a finger at me and shouted, "You've been messing with my daughter's heart, you piece of garbage. You think you can just play her like that and get away with it?" For a split second, I thought about running. Not because I was scared, but because I knew there was no reasoning with these people. They weren't here to listen. They were here to punish me for something I didn't even do. And the worst part? Emma was standing right there, watching it happen. I was completely blindsided. "What are you talking about?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "This is a huge misunderstanding. I didn't cheat on Emma. Those photos are nothing. They're not what you think." One of her brothers stepped forward, cracking his knuckles like he'd been waiting for this moment. I swear, the way he was cracking his knuckles, you'd think he was about to challenge me to a duel or audition for a mob movie. He said, "Oh, so you're saying Emma's lying now? You're gonna call my sister a liar to my face?" I took a step back, holding up my hands. "No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying someone's feeding her false information. I didn't do anything wrong. If you give me 2 minutes, I can prove it." But they weren't interested in proof. They were already convinced I was guilty. Her dad got in my face. "You're a liar, piece of trash, plain and simple. Men like you don't deserve women like my daughter." And the first punch landed. It came out of nowhere, hitting me square in the jaw. Before I could even react, the second brother grabbed me by the collar and shoved me against the wall. The lamp on my side table crashed to the ground, and I felt a sharp pain shoot through my shoulder. I caught a glimpse of Emma out of the corner of my eye. She was just standing there, arms crossed, like she was watching a bad reality show. No shock, no attempt to stop them. Nothing. How could she let this happen? How could she let them hurt me and say nothing? I tried to defend myself, but it was 3 thugs against 1. They were yelling, throwing accusations and fists at the same time. It felt like they'd been waiting for this opportunity, like they'd been looking for an excuse to take me down. "Admit it!" one of them shouted. "Admit you've been cheating on her!" "I didn't!" I shouted back, trying to block another punch. "I swear I didn't cheat!" It didn't matter what I said. They weren't there to listen. They were there to punish me. At some point, I ended up on the floor, trying to cover my face as they kicked me. My ribs felt like they were on fire, and my head was spinning. Lying there, I stopped trying to fight back. What was the point? They didn't want the truth. They wanted someone to blame. And as much as I wanted to get up and defend myself, the betrayal of seeing Emma just stand there hurt more than any of the punches they threw. And then, just as suddenly as it started, it stopped. Her dad stood over me, breathing heavily, while one of the brothers pulled him back. "That's enough," he said. "Let's get out of here before we really hurt him." As they walked toward the door, her dad looked back at me. "If I see you near my daughter again, I won't hold back next time. Consider this a warning." Emma was standing in the doorway looking at me. She didn't look upset or worried. She looked cold, detached, like she didn't care that I was lying there, bruised and bleeding. "The engagement off," she said. "You're lucky they didn't break your bones." And just like that, they were gone. I lay there for a while, trying to catch my breath and process what had just happened. My living room was a mess. Furniture overturned, a broken lamp, blood on the carpet. I tried to get up, but my body felt like it had been hit by a truck. Eventually, I managed to crawl to my phone and call a friend to take me to the hospital. The doctor patched me up, some bruised ribs, a split lip, and a mild concussion. He asked me what happened, and when I told him, he just shook his head. "You should report this," he said. "People like that don't stop unless they face consequences." I didn't know what to do. Every part of me was boiling. My fists clenched so hard my nails dug into my palms. I wanted to show up at their house and make them feel even a fraction of what they'd put me through. But I forced myself to stay in control, even though the anger was burning through me like fire. Forgetting about it? Letting it go? No way! I'd been pushed around, falsely accused, and treated like I didn't matter for too long. They weren't getting away with this. Not this time. By the time I left the hospital, I had made up my mind. I wasn't going to let them walk all over me. This wasn't just about the fight. It was about respect, about standing up for myself. The next day, I called a lawyer friend and told him everything. He listened carefully, then said, "You need to file a police report, and you need to do it now. The longer you wait, the harder it'll be to prove what they did to you." So I did. I went to the police station, filed the report, and let them take photos of my injuries. The officers were sympathetic, nodding as I explained what had happened. They assured me they'd investigate, but they also warned me that cases like this could take time. I should have felt some sense of relief, but I didn't. I just felt empty. The woman I thought I was going to spend my life with had not only believed a lie about me, but had let her family assault me over it. I didn't know how things would play out, but I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going to back down. They thought they could scare me into silence, but they were wrong. This was just the beginning. About a week later, I got this random call. The number wasn't saved in my phone. On the other end was her uncle. Let's call him Uncle Joe. I barely knew the guy. I'd met him maybe twice at family events, and both times he seemed like the quiet type who stayed out of drama. So when he said, "We need to talk," I was like, okay? We set up a meeting at this diner off the highway. Real middle-of-nowhere vibes. When I got there, he was already sitting in a booth. I slid into the seat across from him, and before I could even say hi, he leaned in and whispered, "You deserve to know the truth." Now, when someone says something like that, you know it's about to get wild. I just nodded and let him talk. Turns out this whole mess wasn't some misunderstanding or a heat-of-the-moment thing. Nope, it was a damn setup. Because why settle for regular family drama when you can crank it up to supervillain levels, right? "Her mom never liked you," Uncle Joe said, glancing around like someone might be eavesdropping. "She's been trying to break you two up for months. She wants Emma to marry this other guy. Family friend, lots of money, big connections." I just stared at him, trying to wrap my head around what he was saying. "Wait, so you're telling me her mom, what, framed me?" He nodded, looking kind of guilty, like he felt bad for even being related to these people. "She hired someone to follow you, take those pictures, and make it look like you were cheating. Then she started spreading rumors, telling Emma you had a double life or some nonsense." "You've got to be kidding me," I said, leaning back in the booth. "And Emma just bought it? No questions asked?" He said that her mom's persuasive, and Emma's always been kinda, let's just say, easy to influence. At this point, I was pissed. Like beyond pissed. It wasn't just that they'd ruined my relationship. They'd trashed my reputation, wrecked my apartment, and left me with actual bruises. "Do you have proof of any of this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. Uncle Joe nodded and pulled out a USB drive, sliding it across the table. Texts, emails, all of it. Her mom wasn't exactly subtle about what she was doing. I grabbed the drive and thanked him, though I didn't really know what else to say. My head was spinning. As I drove home, I kept replaying everything in my mind. Her mom had planned this whole thing, like actually planned it, and Emma just went along with it. By the time I got back to my place, I was fuming. I plugged the USB into my laptop and started scrolling through the messages. Sure enough, there it all was in black and white. Her mom texted Uncle Joe's wife about hiring a photographer, telling Emma, "He's not good enough for you," and even coaching her on how to confront me. It was all there. The lies, The manipulation? The betrayal? I forwarded everything to my lawyer and called him up. Dude, you're not gonna believe this, I said. He listened as I explained, then said, this changes everything. We're not just looking at assault charges anymore. This is premeditated. We're talking conspiracy. For the first time in days, I felt like I had some control over the situation. I wasn't just gonna sit back and let these people ruin my life. The next morning, I handed the evidence over to the police. The detective who took my statement raised an eyebrow as he skimmed through the texts. This is pretty damning, he said. We'll be in touch. By now, word had gotten back to Emma's family that I'd filed charges. That's when the call started. Her dad left a voicemail saying we needed to work this out like adults. One of her brothers texted me some half-assed apology about how they might have overreacted. And Emma? She sent this long, rambling text about how she was so confused and didn't know who to believe. Yeah, sure. Now she's confused. Where was all this doubt when her family was rearranging my face? I ignored them all. I wasn't about to let them guilt me into dropping the charges. They wanted to play dirty? Fine. Let's see how they handle it when the law gets involved. But even as I stood my ground, I couldn't shake this nagging feeling of disappointment. Emma had been the one person I thought I could trust. I'd planned to spend my life with her, and now she was just gone. Still, I wasn't about to let that stop me from fighting back. If they thought I was just going to roll over and take this, they had another thing coming. So, after handing over the proof to the cops, I figured things were about to get serious. What I didn't expect was how quickly Emma's family would start freaking out. I mean, these people went from, we're gonna ruin your life to, let's be reasonable in record time. First, her dad called me. I didn't even recognize the number at first. But when I picked up, there he was, sounding all nervous. Hey, we might have overreacted, he said, his tone way softer than the last time we'd spoken. Let's talk this through. No need to involve the police? I almost laughed. This was the same guy who was ready to knock my teeth out a week ago, and now he wanted to play nice? Talk to my lawyer, I said, keeping it short and hanging up before he could say anything else. Next came her brother, one of the ones who'd thrown punches. He texted me this long message about how they were just protecting their sister, and things got out of hand. He ended it with, let's settle this like men. Right, because real men ambush people in their own homes. I didn't even bother replying. And then there was Emma. She sent me a text from a different number. And honestly, just seeing her name pop up on my phone made me nauseous. Her message was all over the place. She said she was so sorry that she'd been manipulated and that her mom had convinced her I was cheating. I didn't know what to think, she wrote. Can we please talk? I miss you. Yeah, no, I wasn't falling for that. Where was this doubt when her family was trashing my place and leaving me with bruises? She had plenty of chances to talk to me, to ask for my side of the story, but she didn't. And now that the truth was out, she wanted to act like none of it happened. I left her on red. Meanwhile, my lawyer was loving the new evidence. This isn't just a solid case, he said. It's a slam dunk. They assaulted you based on fabricated evidence. The texts show clear conspiracy, and your injuries back it all up. They're in deep trouble. Hearing that felt good, but it wasn't like this was going to be an instant win. The cops were investigating, and that was going to take time. Still, knowing the law was on my side made it easier to deal with the constant calls and texts from Emma's family. A couple of days later, the first big development hit. My lawyer called to let me know the police had issued warrants for her dad, her brothers, and her mom. They were being charged with assault and conspiracy, and the cops weren't wasting any time. Apparently, when they showed up to arrest her dad and brothers, the two hotheads tried to argue with the officers. We were defending our family, one of them yelled. The cops weren't buying it. They'd seen the evidence and knew the difference between defending your family and premeditated assault. The best part? Her mom didn't see it coming. She'd been running around acting like she was untouchable, and then, bam, the police showed up at her door. From what I heard, she immediately tried to play the victim. I was protecting my daughter. I didn't mean for things to go this far. Yeah, sure. You just accidentally hired someone to frame me and accidentally got your family to assault me in my own home. Totally believable. It was around this time that Emma started getting more desperate. She left me a voicemail, her voice shaky like she'd been crying for hours. I didn't know, she said. I swear I didn't know what they were planning. Please, let's talk. I need to explain. But the thing is, there was nothing left to explain. She might not have known her mom set this all up, but she still chose to believe those fake photos over me. She didn't even give me a chance to defend myself before letting her family wreck my life. The way I saw it, if she could turn on me that easily, there was no way I could ever trust her again. So, I deleted the voicemail and blocked her number. By now, her family must have realized how bad things were looking for them, Because they tried a new angle. Bribery. One of her cousins, who I'd only met once at a Christmas party, showed up at my office parking lot. "Hey man, can we talk?" he said, walking up to me like we were old friends. I stopped and asked, "What do you want?" "They feel awful about what happened," he said, holding his hands up like he was trying to calm me down. "No one wants this to go to court. They're willing to cover your medical bills, maybe throw in a settlement if you'll drop the charges." I just stared at him. "So they think they can pay me off and make this go away?" "Look, I'm just the messenger," he said, shrugging. "No one's saying what they did was okay, but a trial's gonna get messy. For everyone." I shook my head. "Tell them I'm not interested. They can explain themselves in court." The cousin looked like he wanted to argue, but I was done. I got in my car and drove off, leaving him standing there. At this point, I wasn't just fighting for justice, I was fighting for myself. These people thought they could mess with my life, ruin my relationship, and get away with it. They were about to learn how wrong they were. During the few days after they tried to bribe me, Emma kept blowing up my phone again through her friends, texts, emails, calls. I didn't listen to most of them, but one caught my eye. She said something about wanting to meet up and set the record straight. At this point, I was done with her, but my lawyer told me I could meet her as long as I wasn't alone. So I agreed, not to listen to her, but to put an end to this. I brought a friend along to witness everything. We met at a cafe near the courthouse. When she walked in, she looked like a mess. Her eyes were red, and she had this look on her face like she'd just lost everything, which honestly, she kinda had. She sat down across from me and immediately started crying. "I'm so sorry," she said, her voice shaking. "I didn't know what they were planning. I thought you cheated. My mom convinced me you were lying to me." I just sat there, letting her talk. She went on about how scared she was of her family, how she felt pressured to believe them, and how she regretted everything. When she finally stopped, I leaned forward and said, "If you loved me, you would have asked for my side. You had a choice, to trust me or to trust them, and you chose them. That's not love." Her tears started flowing harder. "I was confused," she sobbed. "I didn't know what to do." I shook my head. "Confused or not, you let them beat me up in my own home. You stood there enjoying watching it happen. And now, you think an apology is enough to fix that?" She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "It's too late," I said. "They're facing the consequences for what they did, and so are you. This is over. Don't call me again." I stood up, left her sitting there crying, and walked out with my friend. That was the last time I saw her in person. The trial came not long after that. My lawyer prepared me for everything, and when the day arrived, I was ready. I testified about the assault, how they barged into my apartment, ignored my attempts to explain, and beat me until I was bleeding. The prosecutor presented the text messages, the photos of my injuries, and even the USB drive with all the proof of the conspiracy. The uncle came through too. He testified about everything he'd told me, how her mom had planned the whole thing, how she'd manipulated everyone into believing her lies. It was airtight. The defense tried their best, but their arguments were weak. Her dad and brothers claimed they were defending their family's honor, but the jury didn't buy it. Her mom tried to downplay her role, saying she was just worried about her daughter, but the texts painted a different picture. When the verdict came in, guilty, I didn't feel happy. I didn't even feel relieved. I just felt done, like this whole nightmare was finally over. Her dad and brothers got prison time for aggravated assault, and her mom got time for conspiracy. They'd all have criminal records now, and good luck shaking that off. Emma wasn't charged, but her reputation was wrecked. Everyone in her community knew what happened, and she became the girl who believed lies and ruined everything. After the sentencing, she tried to contact me again. I didn't even bother listening to the voicemail. I just blocked her number and deleted the message. The truth is, I'm done with that chapter of my life. It's over. They thought they could break me, but I came out of it stronger. Now, I'm focusing on myself, building a life where no one can take advantage of me again. Justice was served, and I'm moving on. That's all there is to it. And to anyone reading this who's dealing with toxic people or situations, here's my advice. Know your worth. Don't let anyone make you feel small or powerless. Stand your ground, because at the end of the day, you deserve respect, and the only person who can truly fight for you is you.